What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and today, finishing up the 2.0 rankings. Now, I'm a little bit sad. It's the end of the combine, and we can only really talk about these prospects for so much longer, but wait for the 19th when, I said, been hyping it up on Twitter, been hyping it up in videos. It's the most ambitious thing I have ever done on this channel. I hope to God you guys like it, because it is going to be a pain in the ass to do. And that's when, there's a spoiler that is somewhat related to the draft. But today we will be taking a look at the final top 5 safeties for the upcoming 2017 draft post-combine rankings. We saw a next guy that's either going to be literally a game changer, the next Taylor Mays. We saw, what we missed out. We kind of missed out on one of the best prospects. And where does Jabril Peppers play will be all addressed throughout this video. So initially, for my 1.0 rankings, it went as such. Number 5 was Marcus Williams. Number 4 was Marcus May. Number 3 was Jabril Peppers. Number 2, Jamal Adams. And number 1 was Malik Hooker from Ohio State. Things have changed slightly. Just ever so slightly. But I mean, this is a really, really good safety class, and I think that for the first 3, maybe even 4 rounds, there's going to be absolute value to get for the safeties. So at number 5, we're going with Budda Baker from the University of Washington, 5'10", 195 pounds. Phenomenal free safety prospect. Maybe one of the best in this year's draft class, depending of where you see Jabril Peppers, if you see him at free safety or not. But Mr. Budda Baker at the combine. His pro comparison actually on NFL.com is Bob Sanders, and hopefully for his sake he has better ligaments than Bob Sanders does, because it seemed like almost every other year for the Colts Bob Sanders was out. But when he was on there, he was defensive player of the year. He was an absolute stud back there. I guess undersized free safety. Very fearless. Will always willing to come up and make a play. Hard player, tough player, likes to finish tackles, which is exactly what you want. And really the only thing against him is that he's really aggressive, and which can always burn free safeties. Free safeties are hoping the guy that can, drop back there and play a little bit of coverage. And he's kind of small at 5'10", 195 pounds. But the combine, he ran a 4.45 40 and put up 15 on the bench press. And his stats in 2016, 71 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 2 picks on a very good Washington Husky defense. So I think Budda Baker will probably be a middle second round pick, but it will be tremendous value and has the potential to start day 1. I'm not exactly sure, how much more weight you could put on his smallish frame. Maybe he could be gained, 10 pounds, coming at 205. Still, 5'10", small limbs. Not the biggest guy back there, but look what Earl Thomas did. He's not the biggest guy either, and he's one of the best free safeties in the NFL. Go number 4, it's going to be Jabril Peppers from the University of Michigan, 5'10", 213 pounds. So, I mean, first of all, the talking point from this year's draft class, was he a linebacker, was he not? He got placed with the linebackers, tested with the linebackers, but he supposedly during team interviews and such, he said he was a safety. And one of the big surprising things was everyone thought he was listed at 6'1", coming in at 5'10". They must be measuring that guy with big fucking shoes on or some shit, because that is one of the bigger discrepancies I've ever seen. The pro comparison for him on NFL.com is currently Eric Weddle, and I actually think that's not that bad of a comparison. Eric Weddle was kind of a do-all player for the University of Utah, played a little bit of running back, Swiss Army knife, exact same thing that Peppers did. Peppers played linebacker, safety. I don't think he fucking started out as a corner when he's coming out of high school, running back, wide receiver, punt returns. Just, absolute baller in every single position that he did. And I think now that he's as a safety, I was kind of shitting on him as an absolute bust if he was playing a linebacker. But at least now he's kind of, realized that, he was a linebacker because Coach Harbaugh for the University of Michigan asked him to do it. But he is a safety at the next level. The only issue with the safety is he only has 1 career interception. I mean, once he gets the ball in his hands, he certainly can take it to the house. But does he get this coverage ability is what brings up questions. He looked good throughout the drills, to be honest with you, but still, I think with a guy like him, he's going to be wanting to look and make an immediate impact, but I'm not so sure that will be the case. I think he may take a full year before, it'll be probably 2018 until I think Jabril Peppers has a chance to start. But, I mean, then again, he's a Swiss Army knife. I wouldn't be surprised to see some special packages for having to come on the field and just to mark really talented pass-catching running backs and tight ends if need be. His combine, 4.46 40, 19 on the bench press, and a 35.5-inch vertical. And his 2016 stats were 72 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and 1 interception. But now that he's at a safety, it feels pretty good here to pull for the guy. Joe Peppers seems like a nice guy, and hopefully, he can find a nice team like the Patriots. Watch the Patriots just being able to, have that mastermind Bill Belichick find a perfect use for Jabril Peppers. He's gonna be a good one. Going to number 3 is Obi Melifonwu, who literally, you have no idea. He's either going to be the next big game-changing safety, linebacker, corner, whatever the fuck. We'll just say a defensive back. He's a defensive back in every sense of the word. or he's going to be the next Taylor Mays. Pro comparison from him, he's 6'4", 225 pounds. He's just a much more athletic George Iloka, very rangy guy. He's not a big hitter. That's the only thing that's kind of, I wouldn't say underwhelming, but you'd assume 6'4", 224 pounds. He's got to lay the fucking boom. No, he's a drop back coverage athlete type. And I think George Iloka actually is a very fair comparison because George Iloka, likewise, 6'4", 220 plus pounds, not a big hitter, more so regarded for his own coverage. With him, he ran a 4.4 40, 17 on the bench press, and a 44-inch vertical. I think he has the second highest vertical behind former UConn teammate Byron Jones. For his stats in 2016, 118 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, and 4 picks. I can see, we're talking about it. I think he definitely has earned himself first round consideration. I don't know how many people are going to put this freakishly good combine to bump his stock up, because everyone, it's much like John Ross. Everyone knew he was going to put up some freakish numbers. So he didn't necessarily blow everyone away, but he didn't fail to live up to the hype. But I could totally see a team like the fucking Browns. The surprise pick surely would be him getting drafted above a Malik Hooker or a Jamal Adams. I don't think that's going to happen. He just doesn't have the good enough tape. I think his ceiling's as high as those kind of guys. But, if you draft Melifonwu, there's still a chance that you're going to want him to have an adjustment period here in the NFL, whereas Hooker and Jamal Adams, even though Hooker, again, another guy, really a small, limited amount of college playing time. But Jamal Adams, for sure, day one starter. But with Melifonwu, you may want to hold up a little bit with him, but the potential is there. I mean, you might want to bulk him up, add 10 pounds. He's now that fucking weird hybrid linebacker shit that is the talk of the town now in the NFL. People were saying, I think Mike Mayock said, if he ran a sub 4.5 or sub 4.45, some teams would consider him as a corner. So, I mean, he is much like Bill Peppers, Swiss Army knife. He can play pretty much everywhere, and he tested incredibly well. But my gut is saying, he's going to be more like a Taylor Mays than he will be the next freak all-pro safety. But, I'm hoping. He seems like a really, really nice kid from all the interviews that they did on the NFL Network. And I'm pulling for it, but I could totally see, thank God Al Davis is no longer here, because he would trade the entire franchise to get John Ross and Melifonwu in the first round of this year's draft class. But I think with this crazy combine, would not be surprised to see him be a top 20 pick come the first round in April. Going number 3 is going to be Malik Hooker from Ohio State, 6'2", 205 pounds. Pro comparison, I think on NFL.com, they gave him Reggie Nelson. I think, obviously it's a big praise, but he looks similar to an Ed Reed type. Hold your horses, every time you throw in a big legend as a pro comparison, people are like, you think he's as good as Ed Reed? No, but the way he plays the safety position is very similar to Ed Reed. Maybe not the highest level. Still a little bit worried about, the fact that he didn't really play a whole lot in college football. I mean, you got to go when the iron's hot. He did not participate in the combine. I assume he'll have a pro day or maybe a private workout. I don't know if he's going to be healthy enough for the Ohio State Pro Day, but I would assume, much like Corey Davis, who's my top level receiver, he will have himself a private workout before the combine. Incredible instincts. This guy here is an absolute fucking ball hawk. His stats in 2016, 74 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, half a sack, 7 picks, and 3 of those went back for a touchdown. So just with the ball in his hands after he makes an interception, that's where you see the parallels between him and an Ed Reed type. I guess that's what we'll say, Ed Reed type. Like I said, the only thing with him is the lack of experience. Certainly, he could have played maybe one more year. He would have been fucking top 3 prospect if he would have came up with the consistency that he had here in 2016. But aside from the fact that he's not the greatest tackler, it's all about a scheme fit. Do you want your safeties to be, like a fucking Cam Chancellor type? Do you want a team what team has powerful, some people's defensive schemes, they want their safeties both to be able to tackle big time hitter, force fumbles. Other teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, we have Malcolm Jenkins back there. He was the prime target, prime build that we want for a safety, a guy that can cover and can kind of help with tackling, but you never relied on tackling. I think a team like that is going to be the team that takes a gamble on Malik Hooker, and I think even without the combine, he's still probably going to be a top 10 pick. I can't see him slipping past the San Diego Chargers, and he'll be a nice fit there. But the number 1 safety for this year's draft class is Jamal Adams from LSU, 6'1", 210 pounds. My pro comparison from him is Eric Berry. NFL Network gave him Darren Woodson, which is not a bad comparison at all, but I see a lot of Eric Berry, more so in the college tape. His college tape at LSU looks a lot like Eric Berry's college tape from the University of Tennessee. I think Berry obviously had one of the best safety careers in the history of college football. So, I mean, just not going to say the body of work is the exact same. But you look at Eric Berry's best game, you look at Jamal Adams' best game, and they look pretty much two of the same here. Jamal Adams for his combine, 4.56 40, 18 on the bench press. So obviously, when you get overshadowed by a guy like Melifon, there's another guy we'll talk about that had an excellent combine. I mean, the 4.56 looks kind of slow, but it's about expected. What we saw, he's not an absolute burner. He's more of an in-the-box guy that can do it all, whereas a guy like, Malik Hooker's at number 2 is pretty much a pure cover safety. But I think Jamal Adams is one of those guys. I might have him in my top 5 of guys that almost can't miss. I don't think Jamal Adams might not necessarily turn out to be an All-Pro, but I think his fucking floor is a decent NFL starter with upside to be an All-Pro. So I think whoever takes Jamal Adams in this year's draft class is going to get a great pick, safe pick as well. Like I said, solid in coverage, more so probably one of the best tacklers, I would say, in this year's draft class at the safety spot. His his season in 2016, he had 76 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 1 pick. He's going to be a beast, and I think he's for sure a lock to be top 5. And I think he's edged ahead of Hooker just because, we're so neck and neck, and where Hooker, might not be able to test well before the combine. It's almost a 1A, 1B, but we have to put Adams as the top guy because teams have got a better look at him. But there you go, guys. Those are my safety rankings, and here are the awards. So for the most NFL ready, I'm going to give it to Jamal Adams. Highest potential, Malik Hooker. For a sleeper, I have Marcus May and Fish Smithson. Highest bust potential, still unfortunately going to have to go with Jabril Peppers, even though I never really seen him in a lot of interviews, and he seemed actually like a really, really cool guy. I totally hang out with him. I totally hope he subscribes to me. He seemed like a cool fucking guy on the NFL Network, and I'm pulling for him. Looks like a good kid, not an asshole like some of the players that we do see from time to time, but I still think the bust potential is there because his coverage ability is still a work in progress, and if he doesn't get it, there's a chance that he might not ever develop true coverage skills, and might be more so in college. He was able to rely on his athleticism as opposed to technique. And for the players that most improved their stock at the combine, we have Obi Melifonwu, who already talked about that 4.4 40, 17 bench press, and having an insane vertical. But another guy that you may want to see as a late riser is Josh Jones, the safety from North Carolina State, 6'1", 220 pounds, ran a 4.4 140, 20 on the bench press, 37.5-inch vertical, near top of all these positions. I think he was top 3 in almost every skill tested position that he participated. And there you go. Great, 225 pounds, baller. He's a beast, so keep an eye on him for the mid-round. So there you go, guys. Those are my safety rankings, final safety rankings. Thank you for watching this video and all of my 2.0 rankings. And I hope you guys like what's going to come out soon with the mock drafts and the series that's debuting on the 19th. If this is your first time stop by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with any of my rankings. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.